Good morning slash afternoon, everybody. Today's going to be fun because we are, I don't know if we're rewinding back in time or if something new is on the horizon. This is wild. Like the unknown right now is wild. Um, so if you're late 80s, you know, late 80s born, early 90s kid, I was born in 85. Uh, if you grew up in that era, you very, very much almost, it- you almost definitely remember Blockbuster Video. Um, I mean, it became a catchphrase, every Friday, make it a Blockbuster night. It's wild to think that there are reports right now suggesting that one of the biggest presences, is that a word? A company that had the biggest presence in video distribution, movie distribution, in the retail sector. It's wild to think that they are coming back. Uh, Now, if you don't, I mean, hopefully you know what Blockbuster is, but just to kind of get into everything, uh, like I said, for those of us who grew up in the 90s and early 2000s, Blockbuster was a cultural icon. Uh, Place where you could go to rent movies, you know, eventually play video or rent video games. Um, it ended up being every sort of entertainment, really. Uh, and I think, especially whether it's, this format with the rant or over with the content that we do for the podcast, conversation has always been important to me. And there's no better memory that I have than going to the video store to rent a movie and interacting with, people I knew and then other random people I didn't, um, amongst hundreds of videos that we were all looking at, and we were all looking presumably for something different individually. Some of us may have been looking for the same thing, but Blockbuster Video was a cultural icon, and I think still is today. Um, it was the place where you went, any day of the week, but primarily Friday, Saturday, Sunday, after the parents got off work, after you guys, finished dinner. You went to the video store and got maybe a movie for Friday night or a movie for Friday and Saturday, and it became it spawned family movie night, and that was something that really brought families together. And I think with all of what we're seeing today, with the very obvious examples out there of certain groups and certain people with influence trying to dismantle the very fabric of the family unit, I think it's important that we look at something like these and remember what brought us together. And it's like I'm in shock that there is literally national conversation around something as big as Blockbuster Video. Um, it's just to give you some background. So, the origins of Blockbuster started in 1985 by a man named David Cook. At the time, it was a small chain of video rental stores in Texas. David Cook actually started out as um, an employee of a video rental store, and he actually had uh, bigger ideas for the video store that he was working for, but obviously working for somebody else, um, he had to get approval from them. And one of the main things, uh, and it became synonymous with Blockbuster, one of the main things that he wanted to do to this store that he worked at is he wanted to change the color scheme to make it a little bit more eye catching. And he wanted to change it to blue and yellow. And the person who uh, he worked for wouldn't let him. And he was just disappointed. And so he decided that he was going to open his own chain. And like I said, happened in 1985. He expanded and began the franchise, but it quickly became a household name. Blockbuster was known for its wide selection of movies, video games, as well as its late fees and strict return policy, which a lot of people think that that was what their demise was. Um, that very much had a part in it, but um, I forget the man's name, but there was a guy who originally partnered, eventually I should say, partnered with David Cook, and they were running the business together for a short time, and I guess they ended up disagreeing on how to move the business forward. And so David Cook ended up selling his shares of the company and just kind of cutting his losses. They didn't really separate on bad blood, but it just, he didn't see things the way that the other, I wish the other, that's probably why I can't. Um, the no owner of Blockbuster was the one that continued it up until, it, closed off or closed in, I think it was 2014. Um, so uh, it figure it out here. It was at its peak in the 90s and early 2000s, but as streaming began to emerge, Blockbuster started to struggle. The company was slow to adapt to the changing landscape of the entertainment industry, uh, and struggled to compete with convenience of and affordability of services like Netflix. And even with even with the fact that Blockbuster ended up, ceasing to exist almost 10 years ago now, because it ended in 2014. Yeah, next year it'll be 10 years. So maybe that's why, all of this talk is happening now. Um, but it's amazing and sad at the same time to see how quickly it met its demise just because of a few bad choices it made. Um, Eventually, when they started to see competitors, they actually had an opportunity when Netflix was just a DVD by mail service. They had an opportunity, Blockbuster did, to buy Netflix for something like I think $11 million. I think the figure was, but they turned it down. And I believe it was about a year or two after Blockbuster just started seeing, you know, conflict after conflict, struggle after struggle, and they eventually, started their very sharp decline. Um, but I think for what we do here with the rant and what the objective of the podcast is, you would go in to a video store. You'd be like I said, you'd be looking for uh, your video, but you would be mingling with a bunch of, either people you knew, well, a mix of people you knew and people you didn't know, which was weird because, when you live in a small area, you think you know everybody, or at least everybody thinks they know you. Uh, but, it was something that you shared with your community is going to the video store every Friday night and just enjoying what was out there, looking at the new releases, looking at the favorites that you wanted to watch again. And like I said, it created what we knew as family movie night. And I have to wonder, with now that uh, the Blockbuster website is back and functioning, I have to wonder, are they rebuilding up until next year and relaunching something at the, 10-year mark of when they originally closed? Um, or are they waiting until 2025 when it's the anniversary of when they first opened? It's wow. That just kind of sidelined or just put me at wow. Yeah, that made it so I can't think. Don't want to think about that. Um, but I have to wonder what their objective is. Um, it's it's wild to think of what the potential objective is. Like obviously, right now there's not much on the website, um, but I did find out. I don't know if it's an official account, but there is a Twitter account, and supposedly I heard there was an Instagram account for Blockbuster. Which, if they don't exist, why do they exist? Like, if the company doesn't exist, why do those accounts exist? There is one final one in Bend, Oregon, that is been talked about the last couple of years. Um, they, are continuously getting people in there. They get customers, um, but it's something I'm looking forward to. Um, but I have to wonder, as well as what way they're coming back in the last 3 years since we've seen, kind of the breakdown of uh, conversation between people and the unwillingness to congregate in, I don't want to say small spaces, but in public spaces. I have to wonder. I don't know that it would be wise for Blockbuster to come back in a brick and mortar fashion. like as a physical store, 'cause I don't think that would last. Um, I just lost my train of thought. Um, so I don't necessarily know, but if they were to come back in a brick and mortar form, um, would people, go there and enjoy being around others again? Because that's where you really had conversations, and it didn't matter what video you were there to get. You were having conversations about a shared love of movies. Um, and yeah, I'm looking at social media, seeing how people interact nowadays, and looking at the potential of Blockbuster coming back. I'm thinking to myself, I really don't see this working out well. Um, I know that once Netflix, uh, once Netflix started their streaming service, because obviously they started out as a DVD by mail service. Once Netflix started their streaming service, um, Blockbuster realized how successful Netflix was being with that model, and they tried it, and it didn't work out at all. And I didn't even know they originally had um or had tried the streaming types business model. Um but I have a feeling that with the way that streaming services are going right now, and jacking they're jacking up their prices, I wonder if Blockbuster can develop a streaming service that can compete with them, and it be a huge nostalgia factor for all of us that remember. Um, are they real accounts? I don't know. Um, I don't like I said, I haven't found the Instagram account yet. There's a couple listed, but none of them really indicate to me whether they're the one that I've heard about. Um, the Twitter account is literally Twitter .com/ at Blockbuster. I think that's all it is. Um, that seems to be a very comical account. I think it is the official account, but I think it very much makes fun of itself. I think. I actually have it pulled up. Let me see if I can share my screen because some of the shit they say on here is wild. Let me see here. Go through some of these and get a laugh. There we go. Share. Do that. There we go. All right, let me get the screen up so I can operate it. Okay, so I think the very first one that they were talking about was right here. It says new business idea. We're gonna come back and as a bank and use VHS and DVDs as a currency. Time to go visit your mom. Because obviously, indicating that mom and dad are the ones that have all the old stuff. Uh, let me scroll down here. Let's see. And then let's see some of them. Back on January 23rd, our 2023 New Year's resolution was to reopen Blockbuster, but it seemed like a lot of work, so we quit. Should we start going to the gym instead? See, like I said, this is the official one because obviously it's got the blue check. I wonder if they'll lose their blue check when Elon implements the officially implements the Twitter blue thing. We're getting reports that George Santos is claiming to have worked at Blockbuster. We cannot confirm or deny as our HR department has been gone for a while. Um, is it too late to add video rental a video what? Is it too late to add a video rental location inside? I gotta stop tripping over my damn words. Um, Also, I didn't watch this, but apparently the last remaining uh Blockbuster in the country is that's in Bend, Oregon. They apparently had a Super Bowl commercial, but from what I understand, it did not actually air on the Super Bowl. It aired on the Instagram account. I believe it's the Instagram account for Blockbuster. That's why I was looking for the Blockbuster account. Um, so I'm really hoping that something is going to happen because I have a feeling that something like this is going to be what we need to save what we know as community. I'm assuming it's some former employee who happened to have the login info, but I don't know. Like, I mean, if it's a former employee that has the login info for the Blockbuster account, you would think that because I think it's is it Dish Network that owns Blockbuster right now? They own the intellectual property that is uh Blockbuster. So if it was an employee, a former employee that is still logging in, I have to wonder why hasn't uh Dish Network gone after them to get it shut down? Because since Dish Network bought the property, I believe it was in 2011, they haven't done anything with it. Um, so I mean, it was an acquisition that cost them more money than I think that was necessary. Let's see, how many free drink tickets do we think they gave out this week? Um, oh, here's the one they posted. Controversial opinion. If you haven't already, there's still time to watch the best holiday movie ever of all time, rather. Die Hard. Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. You can take that to the bank. Stupid ass opinion. Um, Pizza Hut, will you go on a date with us? Amanda, I believe you said, or was it you that said something above about getting pizza at the same time you got movies? I mean, they're basically clowning on themselves on this account. Um, but I think like I said, I think what drew me to this whole thing was the sense of community that we have not seen in such a long time. And I have to wonder, like I said, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I have to wonder if we can return to something like that and Blockbuster can be the reason that we do. Um, Personally, they need to come back. Like I think I said this. They need to come back as a streaming service, um, and just wipe out Netflix, Hulu, not necessarily Disney Plus, because Disney Plus has their own properties on there, but Netflix and Hulu have a myriad of different properties. But I think what's ironic, and I didn't realize this until recently, uh, there is um, a series on Netflix called Blockbuster. It's not anything about the real stores, but it's a fictional thing about Blockbuster. and it actually was on Netflix for its first season last year, and now I guess it's canceled. So I had to go look earlier before I started the stream to see if it still was on there, and it is. I'm probably gonna go watch a couple episodes just to see what it was about. But I'm wondering now that there's the potential that Blockbuster might come back. A, if they're gonna bring the series back and revive it, and also with the location in Bend, Oregon, I'm wondering if their notoriety as the last remaining Blockbuster, I have to wonder if it's going to lose its draw and lose its kind of appeal if uh Blockbuster comes back. So um yeah, I'm really anxious to see what this produces. Um I mean, like I said, I don't know if a a brick and mortar presence would necessarily work because unfortunately we're seeing so many of those entities, go the way of the dodo, so to speak, and they're closing down, um, and everything's going online. But if and that's where the brick and mortar stores is where you would go to find what you needed and interact with people in your community. And I think that the push to close all of these brick and mortar stores um, is just their way of trying to keep people from communicating with each other. Um, because as we know, over the last week or so, um, communicating with each other has been a hot topic uh, amongst us and lawmakers that have, you know, they don't know the difference between their asshole and a hole in the ground. Um, so I don't know. I think Blockbuster needs to come back, give the middle finger to every person trying to keep us from interacting and draw people back in. Find a way in 2023. I almost said 2024 for some reason. Uh, whenever they come back, whether it be this year, next year, or 2025, they need to find a way to really reinvigorate people and reintroduce them to what it means to come together under a mutual love for something, even when you're looking for something different within that context. Um, yeah, read out. You're right. I really hope that's what it is. I honestly hope that's what it is. Let me catch up on some things here. uh, yeah, I'm shy. I gotta go check the restaurant accounts, like fast food accounts, and see if they're tweeting about uh the fact that Blockbuster might make a comeback. You will own nothing and you will like it. People are starting to realize now what that's like to not have physical media. Yeah. Um I'm glad that people are starting to wake up. They can destroy all of your favorite films at a whim. Yep. Um yeah, it's wild to know how quickly we've gotten to where we are, but I wonder if now that people are starting to speak out and speak out very loud, I have to wonder if the tides will turn and it'll actually make a difference. I see where brick and mortar stores are imploding, but I feel like it's on a corporate level, on a local level. I feel they can still succeed if they become a hub for community. I think people have to be reintroduced to what community means. Um, because I think people are now too comfortable interacting online from the comfort of their home when it's just them. They're too comfortable interacting that way. And their definition of community is online community. And especially what we've seen the last 3 years, I really hate to see what, the people who are still cuckoo for the beer bug. I was gonna try and rhyme it, but I know that if I say the actual word, uh, they're, YouTube and whoever will come for me. But I think the people that are still of that mindset of being afraid of that will probably raise all kinds of shit. Um, I really hope that uh, there are enough of us. Yeah, that was close to what I was gonna say. um, I just hope there are enough of us that remember what it was like to interact with your community in that context to fight back if Blockbuster comes back and reminds us what community is. I'm hoping there's enough of us to fight back against the perpetually offended people. Um, I don't know, like I have a feeling that I mean, obviously, even with just the buzz, the conversations that are happening, it's a good thing for conversation, and you guys know that's what I'm all about. Um, so I mean, it's a positive thing for conversation regardless, but I really hope it does end up really making enough of a difference for people to see. The streaming service model is oversaturated. I don't think Blockbuster coming back as only a streaming service. I agree, but at the same time, this may be their redemption because obviously, like I said, before Netflix became a streaming service, they were the DVD My Mail, and they actually tried to sell to Blockbuster, and Blockbuster refused. So I'm wondering if this is kind of their redemption arc, um, or maybe it's their villain arc. Completely take down those that buried them. Might be their villain arc. I don't know. That would be interesting. Um, I don't know. I would love to see because I remember where I grew up. There was actually there was one Blockbuster, and it was located right up the street from the one mansion that we had in my town. And that mansion, not really a mansion, but just a larger house. Um, but it was an expensive house. That particular house was the house where the guy who started my summer camp that I went to as a kid, that's where he lived. So, um, I would venture down that way after going to Blockbuster. Um, Originally, though, because I didn't really know a lot about Netflix in the beginning. Um, I thought that places like Hollywood Video, Family Video, those kind of things, I thought they were the demise of Blockbuster. Um, I think they just kind of popped up in the dust of Blockbuster, maybe. Um, let's see. Perhaps they could find a way to allow someone to host watch parties through online streaming. I believe Amazon already does something similar. Um, yeah, Amazon lets people stream certain movies via watch party on Twitch because Amazon owns Twitch, although probably not for very long. There's word that they're already thinking of selling Twitch because it was it's too risky for them to keep it. But it would be interesting for them to do the whole, streaming service plus allow their subscribers maybe to host watch parties. Um, yeah, and then I think that's uh, the benefit with Blockbuster having been dormant for as long as they have. They were able to sit back and watch and learn what's working and what isn't. So they always say it's the quiet ones that you have to worry about. Now that they're being loud, I think it might actually put some fear into the interworkings of all of these services that have gotten to such a point where they're comfortable manipulating the purchasing public. Um, but yeah, you're right. They could really learn from the mistakes of the people that buried them, so to speak. I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting um thing to talk about with everything that we are kind of experiencing. Everyone talking about how conversation is at risk. I just remember having going to the video store, having so many good conversations with people about what they were interested in, and not having any inkling of or interest in criticizing them for what they liked. It helped me actually learn more about them, um, especially if they were people that I knew, but I realized I didn't know well. But it helped me realize what their interests were. Um, but yeah, I'm yeah. I don't know. I thought I was going to be a lot more put together with this. I was rehearsing it in my head for about the last 2 hours, and then it all just kind of word vomit. Um, I was a lot more put together when I was rehearsing it, but yeah, this is gonna be something fun to watch. It'll be a movie before the movie starts. I don't know, a movie before the movie retailer comes back. I don't know. I'm starting to ramble, but yeah, for those that are gonna watch after the fact that aren't here live, um, let me know what you think. Comment down below. There are links below to reach out to me, and there's a merch link. We have new merch uh, in the podcast store. We just put that together within the last couple of days. Right now, for the next month, if you use code, I think it's Early Chaos, you get 50% off your order. So go look at the merch. See what we have for the new design. It's good. It's really good. But I am actually going to be recording a legitimate podcast episode on Wednesday evening. That'll be out next Sunday. But yeah, If you guys have any ideas for the rest of the week for topics, let me know and I will see what I can do. I will talk to you guys later.